Hello everyone, this is Claire Major and I am going to demonstrate to you a conceptual model for qualitative research design. This particular model is one that my colleague Maggie Savenbaden and I put together for our most recent book on qualitative research. Our basic idea was that qualitative researchers face so many different choices today that we wanted to map at least some of those choices out and present researchers with some of the most common options that people are choosing from. So we put this model together to demonstrate several of those choice moments. The first choice moment that we have here is depicted in this center circle of the wheel. We call this the wheel of research choices, the qualitative wheel of research choices. So this first circle, or the first ring on the circle, represents the choice of paradigm or philosophy that's going to guide the different choices along the way. So this choice affects every other choice, and we have 6 common options here: pragmatism, constructionism, social constructionism, phenomenology, postmodernism, poststructuralism, and then critical social theory. So that's our first one, paradigm. The second ring is phenomenon. And this is, what is it that the researcher really wants to study, really wants to get in there and look at? And we have, again, 6 choices that people often choose from when designing qualitative studies. Those are groups, processes, structures, individuals, concepts, and artifacts. The next one is, what research method or research approach are the researchers going to use when they investigate something? And there's several, they're countless really, numbers of research methods, but we've identified 6 that we find fairly often in the research, and those are grounded theory, narrative, phenomenology, action research, ethnography, and pragmatic or basic or generic qualitative research. That comes under a lot of different names. The next ring is, what data collection approach will qualitative researchers use? We have several, including documents, observations, focus groups, visual documents, interviews, and a combination of approaches. So our last ring is the analytic approach that the researcher will use. And we have, again, 6: thematic approach, a more specialized approach, domain analysis, content analysis, keyword, and constant comparison. And so the idea is that the researcher designs his or her own wedge by aligning the choices together to create it's like a slice of pie or a set of lenses that the researcher looks through when interpreting data. To give a more concrete example, I am working with a student right now who is interested in change and how individual change, how faculty change when they decide to go from on-site teaching to online teaching. So we've talked about her topic for a great deal of time, and it's a really interesting one, and we're having a great time thinking through it. So one of the first things she has to do is think through what particular paradigm it is she's looking through. And I can say in this case, her idea is that she's working from a phenomenological lens. Sometimes you see that called interpretivism in the research, and that's where her starting point is. She could do this topic from any of these perspectives, but she's coming from phenomenology. So the next question is, what exactly is it that she wants to study? Now, in my mind, this is one of the most complicated questions in the design process. And so many times we think it's going one way, and then it's actually another thing that's related to what it is, the phenomenon. And we struggle back and forth. And I know in her case, we have talked about it and talked about it and talked about it, and it has gone back and forth. Now, if she wants to look at faculty who teach online and who are shifting to online teaching, there are a number of different ways she could go about it. She could look at individuals, she could look at structures, she could look at this group of faculty, but what she really wants to know about is the process of change. So, let me click this around. She wants to know how these people change, why they change, what steps they take in the change, what is meaningful to them in the change process. So it is a phenomenology in which she is studying processes, a phenomenological perspective. In her case, and by the time we've gotten to this third ring, the choice is pretty clear. She's doing a phenomenology. But if she were looking at, she could use any of these methods to investigate a similar topic. She could study a group of faculty who changed as an ethnography. She could look at a grounded theory to come up with a theory about why they changed or how they changed. She could do a narrative and get their stories. She could do action research. But she really wants to do a phenomenology, their lived experiences with this particular change. So that's her next choice. Now, the question is, how will she gather data? And again, she's got a lot of options. But in this case, phenomenology relies pretty heavily on phenomenological interviewing. And then that's what she is going with. Her final choice is what kind of analysis to do on her data, and there are several options, but in her case she wants to do a specialized approach, which is interpretive phenomenological analysis, and I have no idea why that just hopped back over there, but I will shift it around to get interviews back to the top. And that bottom one shifted too. Not having much luck. My computer seems to not be cooperating with me at this minute. All right, but there we have it. We have bracketed her wedge here, and this becomes her research lens, where she's doing an interpretive perspective on the process of change. She's using phenomenology to investigate participant lived experiences with the change. She's doing phenomenological interviewing, and then she's doing interpretive phenomenological analysis. So this is her research design. It is what she is using to guide her study and to help her interpret data. So that's kind of an overview of how our conceptual model works, helps you work through the research design process.